back at it again. Since there's basically been some of the first hand, like on hand, um, how should I put it, like physical things that basically auto mechanics and everything else that comes out of I mean, just like any other area of your lives, um, when one thing is there and is working, what other things can come out of it. And since my I generally feel like I have overcome quite a bit of uh, temporary um, um, personality, ill personality traits that uh, maybe for a small part I was guilty of as well, and especially in terms of lack of knowledge, because that I found that the way that it works is you have lack of knowledge, then you are hit with problems and issues. Then you have lack of solutions, so you got no solution, and then that's what makes people sick. That's what was making me sick. But obviously, I've been lucky enough to um, both have good faith and as well as come across the good knowledge and be able to use it all. So since I'm lucky enough to have that, and that's working, I may as well, you know, do what I can in terms of being able to uh, benefit myself and others from that. Then, um, the rest of the stuff that I've been trying to do over the last at least 6 months, which was to create a family, to um, maintain my vehicle, to find hands-on jobs, because as much as I enjoy doing things like this video and anything else that might be of upper class, whatever you want to call it, I find a lot of value in working with my hands and my mind as well. Things you know, even something as simple as auto repairs, which that is not that simple at the end of the day. But so it requires a basic level of mechanical engineering. Um, so it's, to me, that is the a good combination where you have to use both your mind and hands-on skills. uh, and how much I even enjoy coming across some of the old knowledge that mechanics used to use, um, and how wonderful it is that they were able to do to perform things that nowadays, I don't know. To me, it really doesn't make sense why just because you can use an electric ratchet, or just because you can take parts to a machine shop to get machined, why you can't also use some of the old methods that they used to use, where they had just as much success. So leaving that to the side is obviously how should I put it? There's some form of warfare being um, carried on, whether that we know it or not, or whatever people want to call it. Is just I make peace with what is, let go and move forward. I mean, I try and do my best, but at the end of the day, having a healthy mind and a clean conscience, and yeah, just not having grudges and all of this sort of stuff, and not holding myself accountable for uh, things that other people do. Like, I mean, so yeah. And now to get into the experience that I've had and the levels of knowledge and performance in terms of psychology, and the humbling experience and the amount of things that you have to let go when the likes of cluster B personality disordered people won't let go of you, you and how important it is to not let go of yourself while trying to hold on to things that they take, you know, because I'm pretty sure that that's the type of end game scenario that they would like to achieve, right? That's why some people go commit suicide. That's why some people go and start being violent towards others and things of this nature. And um, I will share my experience that helps in terms of never you know getting into that mind state, and how a hierarchy such as your mind first, then your body second. But then again, is a good. I mean, if you really take it in count, uh, your mind is made up of your body as well. Your mind is part of your body, but it helps if you have that good faith in yourself to do good for yourself and others. And a lot of times it's not necessarily good things. Like, I mean, say, for example, having to let go of dear ones, if there's a genuine need for that, is a bad thing, but overall is a good thing. So that's where it's at. If I have a whole bunch of people that are from, so if I come to the conclusion that a whole bunch of people where where I'm originally from are nasty, if that place has turned nasty, I have no issue at the end of the day just letting go of that place, like, fully. And that goes the same to my parents, so on and so forth. And these are things that you can pretty much perform on in terms of thinking. So just prioritizing things a little bit. Um, you can do this without much need for mental performance. And then when you go to genuinely perform on that, then you can start looking into something like a Atkins diet, should you need it, and many other things that you can use in terms of nutrition and supplementation to get the performance that you need out of your brain to be able to perform on the things that I'm going to get into, um, that will help in terms of creating the neural networks. So yeah, everyone's obsessed about making networks online, and but I don't know how good their neural networks are inside their brain. So, or should I say, how complex? Because that's the thing. Like you can develop neural networks and neural pathways that are evil and bad and not really, they're not going to benefit you necessarily. But if you have the brain capacity to have way more other neural networks that are beneficial, that are, you know, you can just not access, or if you access those areas in your brain, it doesn't mean that you will act on that, or that you will bring that into reality, right? Like, let's use this as a mental, like, um, test performance, right? You can sit here and think about, I don't know, evil stuff, right? But it doesn't mean that you're going to stand up and go out there and start harming people or something, right? Or whatever it is that you're thinking of, And I hope this helps, people that are, I don't know, neuroscientists and stuff like this. Like, generally do consider this, right? Like, I mean, let's take, for example, like a game like GTA, and especially if it's offline, so so that narcissistic people can't um, interact with you and force you to commit crime, as it be, and all of that. You literally could use GTA, the game from Rockstar, offline, and just use it to, use it like Sims or whatever, right? Just because it has the files in there, and the capabilities in there to blow stuff up, to end people, to all manner of stuff. It doesn't mean that you have to do that, right? So that's the same as with a whole bunch of other things. So they, but again, this is when you do have a high ability of cognitive function. And what happens is, now if I go back to the beginnings, when well, should I say the beginnings of my adulthood, because the beginnings like in my childhood and that, I had a high cognitive function, like especially when I was very young, between the ages of 0 to 7. Hence why I can do the things hence why I've been able to overcome the things that I've overcome, is because I was well looked after. And rest in peace to all my grandparents that died, that I've haven't that literally been ripped out of my life without any goodbyes before they died and all of that, because of the cluster B personality disordered networks and family, basically. So in that regard, that is yet another thing that helps. And a suggestion that I've made to people that haven't been as lucky as I have is to try to remember some of the good and healthy relations and dynamics in their life. And this is the other thing: if they can remember um, things before they were 7, and I for one can remember things from the age of 2. And I think it's a good indication that I wasn't abused, because even in my adult life, I have nights and periods of time where I was abused that much that literally my brain just chose not to remember that. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing, especially if you yourself haven't performed any atrocious acts and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, what would you want to remember trauma that is more um, than symbolic, that can further traumatize you, and stuff like that. It's good enough if you can just remember like the symbolic side of it, yeah, that to recognize the abuse for what it is, and find solutions to recognize those types of behaviors and what brings that stuff about, the patterns in life as it be, so that you can predict before it comes, or if it's in the areas that you are willing to partake in, if it does bring closure quicker, if it brings resolve quicker, then engage in that, right? Like, I mean, don't avoid it. Like if there's some issue between you and someone else, don't hide and stuff. If you know that you're prepared to compromise some or whatever it is to come to some resolve. So from the stages where family, friends didn't have their skills and their knowledge up to standard, so that they would be able to guide me into individuating as a teenager correctly, and then all the basic mistakes that come out of that, plus being somewhat on the codependent side rather than the cluster B personality side, made me a good target for the cluster B personality types. And that perpetuated both the abuse done by others onto me and my own abuse of myself, right? Like, such as like drinking, things of this nature. Luckily, it hasn't been significant enough to ruin me, to inhabilitate me, to make me worse in the long run. So from there, what continued to perpetuate that was, again, not being allowed to individuate, having my ill-treated family, not my grandparents, continued to ship me out, to use me as a vessel, to use me as, the pawn in their game, which I presume they were being used as the pawn in someone else's game. And me not being able to see that for what it is, in terms of psychology and mental health, being so far from being ready to learn about it and then to perform on it, that it was scary. It was, of avoidance. Just how now the ones that are, trying to victimize me and so on and so forth, now they're running away from a diagnosis, and they're running away from facing themselves and in terms of their mental health, and making a good change, a positive change in their life. So, it took me, could almost say, 10 years to come to terms with myself that, and Dr. Carter recently has put out a video where he explains this, where you have to get abused enough or abuse yourself enough, be put through enough pain to be like, yeah, I'm ready to do to put myself even through more pain, just to have some hope that it will come to a stop, Like, I'm ready to let go of so many things and to put in so much work, just to get away, from the harm, basically, from the victimhood. Um, so that was around 2012, 2013. Very, how should I put it? Very peculiar in a way, because around that time, so when everyone was jumping on the popularity bandwagon, um, you know, making YouTube channels, so on and so forth, um, around that time, a lot of the things that are popular today, that's when they began to be popular. And I chose, like that's when I started waking up that I need to look after myself better and individuate from my uh, from my family. Because I mean, at the end of the day, uh, even if you die alone as a D, um, and you don't end up having a family of your own, if you can look after yourself, um, you're better off than someone that is still codependent to their parents. And they're like, how they say about these people that are like, 40 plus years old and they still live with like their parents and stuff, like that is definitely not good in terms of your mental health and so on. So is it, you basically haven't even succeeded individuating, which people do when they're like teenagers to something like maybe 25 years old max. Um, I was pretty much in that boat because I was being shipped around. They moved me back and forth from country to country and from city to city, from high school to high school. Um, yeah, I can say I've done really well considering the circumstances. So around that time is when, yeah, like that's around the time when I've discovered channels like, I think it was, yeah, Ross Rosenberg and Surviving Narcissism with Dr. Carter and a few others. And then slowly Richard Grannon and Sam Vaknin and so on and so forth. And that helped a lot. That helped a lot. I mean, there's night and day difference. Like, I don't know, people that are the ones that have the cluster B personality problems, but the people that um, are the victims of such behavior and the ones that allow themselves, that are suffering from being codependent, it seems there's a lot of, well, nowadays there's even a lot of guys. But classically, it seems there's a lot of ladies that have allowed themselves to fall victim, well, to suffer more, which is worse than victim to some degree, um, because they like the uh, popular, successful, you know, basically the high school bullies, if I'm going to use like just like a general kind of, layman's terms description, you know, and out of the, football players and the popular guys in high school, there's only really like a small handful that are also genuinely healthy, you know. A lot of them are, you know, just bullies. Like they've got personality issues. I mean, that's just the way that it is. And being with people like that will create codependency in you. Yeah. It will get you, whether you're going to be codependently submissive to ill behavior and put up with abuse, or what has been happening more recently, turn into the abuser yourself, you know, and then even further than that, uh, not having like a dual abusive, like competitive relationship, like two narcissists, for example, and looking for a codependent, like living with. Yeah, I've noticed this. Like they want to live with a codependent, with a submissive sort of guy, while they still go every now and then and cheat or whatever it is, or their guy is that submissive that he'll just be like an open relationship, and they go and seek these abusive types just to get their kicks in the weekend or something. So all of that is part of whether you're suffering or you're a victim or whatever it is, but you can't possibly once the just like a drug, once the high is gone, um, it wasn't so much a bodily function that you needed. At the end of the day, it's narcissistic supply, whether that is being siphoned out of you, or whether that you're giving it, or whether that you're using it. You're the cluster B individual. Um, your subconscious never goes to sleep, really, and therefore you're never going to be like anywhere near quote unquote happy or healthy, or have some form of peace of mind. Um, so luckily, I managed to individuate uh, from my olds, which that, and if you can do that, once you can do something like that, and not only that, I was also able to um, go back and play with madness, as it were, because a lot of the psychologists and counselors, some that I've mentioned before, recommend that you just go full no contact. So in that regard, um, I've been able to be stronger than that. But of course, it does take a toll. And because more recently has turned into communities or networks of the cluster B personality disordered people, they've been able to take a toll on me, and literally part of the reason why I had to let go of them again, you know, of family contact, as it be, because uh, my parents have their cluster B, more like narcissistic traits that definitely don't make my life better or their life better when we interact with each other. Me being a um, uh, codependency blocker, so not allowing for codependency, working to stop codependency, and them working towards making me codependent. So, and that type of dynamic, we can't possibly have any peace or come to any sort of resolve. There were times when these networks and so on and so forth didn't have the narcissistic supply need that they have today, and I was able to come across to them in such a way that they were able to hold back their narcissistic supply need towards me and have some form of healthy dynamic. But yeah, this was uh, around 2015, 16, 17. By 2018, 19, it was over. It's like I don't know what happened in their lives, but they certainly become a lot more narcissistic. So, uh, again, individuation, focusing on individuation has definitely helped me. Um, I guess you could use the same thing if you've been in a like abusive relationship, like boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever, you know, husband, as well as obviously living with parents, all sorts of things of this nature. Where there is someone in your life, this is another good example to explain this. Where you have someone in your life that is not treating you like an adult, like someone that has a mind of their own, and someone that is almost like a um, like child to them, and even worse than that, like you know, just unable to think, like some sort of, uh, mental incapacitated child, for that matter, and how hypocritical that is. Uh, the more abilities you have, and the more you know about psychology, and the more issues they have, and the less issues you have. Like it gets to a point where you literally can't even have like a 5 minute conversation. Like that's how bad it gets. And from then on, things start to become slightly easier to deal with and better because you learn to overcome the gaslighting and all manner of ill tactics, right? So, all manner of manipulation by people that you've been caring about the most. So, then something like organizations, strangers, whatever, start to perform like that, it doesn't affect you as much in terms of robbing you from your cognitive ability, because that's why when loved ones, or the ones that we care about, hurt us, manipulate us, so on and so forth, because you get a strong emotional impact. And if it's strong enough, you can feel it, like in your, solar plex in your stomach. Like it's for real. It's literally a biological condition, and as a result of that, it impacts your neurological ability. So that's why things become better once you overcome that, once you tackle that. And how great would have been if I would have been able to achieve this about 10 years ago, because back then society at large was much, much more healthy. There were way less cluster B personality disordered individuals. groups, networks, so on and so forth. But hey, that's the story of my life, always being just slightly late, just a little bit. That is what it is. You got to make peace with what is. You could always be worse. And also, especially when you experience those, you know, physiological, um, you know, bad experiences because of the ill behavior that you're being exposed to by the ones that you care. What helps? That's when nutrition really, really helps. And everything that I'm speaking about, I'm speaking as a quite healthy and probably, I would presume, genetically somewhat lucky, gifted individual. That's just a plain fact. I've never really been overweight or uh, there's been a few times that I was a little bit undernourished, but it didn't really affect me that much. It wasn't easy, but I presume if I was to have, um, other issues like heart issues, you know, just stuff like that, kidney, liver, stomach issues, like it would have probably been pretty much impossible for me to overcome some of the situations that I had to overcome to perform neurologically and in terms of thinking to be able to let go um, before I had to let go and continue being prepared to let go of. Yeah, like I mean it's a very narcissistic or sick world that we live in, and it comes to very radical you know scenarios that you have to live and play out in order to be healthy, and that's what another great challenge is. Making peace with that and facing it for what it is. I mean, for every so-called gated community, they're all presumably it's also healthy, and there's no one that does any harm there, and everyone has got a healthy mind, and they're all perfect. And let's say, okay, it's a good community, but for every place like that, there has to be, places where nothing is true and everything is fake, and it's full of, if they're not criminals and if they're not generally bad at heart, they're just broken. They've been stolen from, they've been abused, they've been, you know, and you're forced in environments like that. And when it is like that, you're better off just considering like you're by yourself. And when you are prepared and it's not going to affect you too much, you can help them to some small degree, and that's where it's at. And for most part, keep yourself safe. That's all there is to it. So yeah, I sure do recommend also affirmations when you have cognitive impairment because of gaslighting and having flashbacks. Um, be careful if you go and get yourself diagnosed. I would recommend getting at least like 3 to 5 different proper diagnoses from 3 to 5 different therapists, professionals, because we live in a world where cluster B and just for profit And it's very easy to keep things in a perpetual incorrect state of being. I'm going to leave it there. I'll see how I feel. I might make more um, videos. I have quite a few subjects I could speak on. I hope it helps people. Uh, I'm probably not going to address much if it's in the chat and stuff. If people want me to go into specific subjects, I'm more than willing to make videos on that, but I will not engage into the um, game playing. So all the best. Have a good day, and hey, enjoy what you can. Like today, we're very lucky over here that the grey and absolute horrible weather has stopped for a bit. But sure enough, when I have to go outside, we'll come right back to the good old grey and rainy skies.